Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our channel, our Us podcast.
Our Us podcast. I'm Slavko. This is
Natalka.
Natalka.
This is our second video, but now we're actually able to do it live. We had technical difficulties the first time around, but we figured that out, and so here we are.
Yeah. So we we took a little bit of time considering how we were going to progress through our into our next video, this one today. So what we decided to do was kind of did a mapping of, since the premise of our channel is to start a relationship, how to grow and build it, and then how to maintain it,
especially starting from a long distance. Because we lived 1,200 miles apart, and yet we're able to make, not only did we start it, but we were able to build it and maintain it for 10 months until the decision was made that I was going to move. But
correct, and that was this incursion. I don't know if that's the right word. Of the nowness that we are experiencing, that the reason that we are able to pull this podcast together for you folks, for ourselves and for you folks. But our relationship started a long time back and has been through many steps of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's something that we are hoping that you folks can help us with. So we are hoping to grow the channel. So that means physically that people have to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you like the video, comment on the video if you can,
and of course sharing it if you're willing, because you never know who it is that might benefit from something we're saying or sharing. And with the subscribe button, there's a little bell that allows you to either do like all notifications or whatever. You can choose your option, but that way also you'll be notified when we go live, whether it's live or a recorded video, whatever we end up deciding to do. But that would be amazing. And if you can ask your friends to do the same.
Yeah.
we would appreciate it.
Seriously, anybody you think that might be helped even by just watching our banter and our chit chat, that's awesome. You know what I mean? But if you learn something from it or it gains something of value, then hey, that's awesome. Yeah. We just did a little something good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so last episode we kind of went over how we started or where we started originally, and kind of how we got to where we were, briefly. But today we were figuring we'll go through kind of like going through how it is that we started the relationship and how we began the building of our foundation, and then kind of going into how we've grown it since and how we've been maintaining it, both from a distance and since we've been together.
Yeah,
which has been amazing. And our dog is laying under the desk, which is great, except she's like gnawing on her paw. And
she's a good one.
She's a good girl.
Okay.
Anyway, so so as far as starting it, a big thing was we agreed on brutal honesty, which included sharing any skeletons that may be in the closet, so to speak, making sure that we were both okay and willing to accept whatever there may have been, which was like step one. Because if we weren't willing to, or if it was something we couldn't accept or get past, then are we going to move forward? Because if we can't, then that's that's a stepping block.
Yeah.
And we've had our prior lives, and we knew what it is that we did or didn't want to be part of this relationship. Because it was like, okay, well, we know, we've already lived life and didn't want to have certain things, part of our life together. We also wanted to make sure that we valued each other, that we felt okay to be vulnerable with each other.
which was an active decision
Yeah,
to be vulnerable, to give yourself to somebody. That's
completely.
not
Yeah.
easy to do.
Mm-mm.
So, I remember kind of ruminating about it one evening late, and I was thinking, when I was going to see her for the first time, I said, I'm going to be open to her. I'm just going to be open, and vulnerability was not something I was comfortable with, but the more I found myself being open to her and to others in whatever fashion, the more I found that the interplay between the personalities and the people and the characters has helped.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, what she's reading off right now was what we had started. What we found was the underlying things that we were doing that were successful, and
For us, yeah. Which we are not claiming to be psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, or anything in any way, or suggesting anybody do the things that we felt were important for us or that are working for us. It's just a matter of us sharing our experience. Because I know I've had a couple people ask me, "Oh my God, how have you been able to make this work? I mean, you're so far apart, and you're clearly so distraught after he leaves, and tell me the secret. Tell me the secret. How are you guys, so happy and so, willing to do this?" So this was just, since, not only were there those types of questions, but the way we work together and the way our banter and our ease, everything was just like, oh my God, you guys, it would be amazing if you guys actually did a podcast, for instance, and talked about it and shared what it is that worked for you or didn't work for you. And you never know who that might help. And so again, we're not coming at this from any way of trying to suggest you do or don't do, but who knows, maybe it'll help.
right.
But listening was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I actually have a man that listens, and I didn't realize how much he listens and actually takes notes at times, depending on the situation.
Notes to self.
But it's amazing to have that. I mean, there are times, I know that he's, sidetracked with something, and I'm like, "Are you listening to me?" And he's like, "I'm listening." And I'm like, "What did I say?"
And I'm like,
like,
oh, you're
what?
really listening.
I'm like, okay. Then there have been like one or two times where he got the gist of what I was saying, but I'm like, okay, focus. Or vice versa.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, so listening was definitely a key thing. Support.
Supporting each other, the others' interests.
Yeah, which is big.
Which is very big.
Now we happen to both be creative and artistic, and so that helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easier for me, I would say, to not be surprised that I like heavy metal or music, whereas for him to actually be interested in my passion, which there's much of behind me, but yarn in particular, I'm very much into fiber, and even Legos, which we added some of my Lego pieces.
Yeah, these are her builds. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. But he has immersed himself into my interests and passions, just as I've immersed myself into his, which, like I said, I mean, music is, but we happen to like the same type of music, which is amazing. I mean, and I've been open to so many concerts, and live music is incredible. But I now have an incredible interest, but into guitars, appreciation of guitars. And I mean,
And wants to understand how they work.
I really do.
And what are the difference between different types of pickups and string configurations and body shapes, and
Yeah,
is it
I
a
mean,
solid body or a hollow body, and how does it
is it
sound?
acoustic? Is it yeah. So it, that's been something that's been amazing too, that we've been open to each other's interests.
Correct.
And that's one of the things that has actually, I think, been beneficial to our relationship, in that now we can almost meld our two things together to make something new, even which we have
Make something
ideas
better.
of. Make something better. Yeah. But so that's it. Carry each other.
Carry each other, which basically is, I mean, not only you're carrying the thought of the person throughout the day, like, you're at work or you're going to some errands or, exercising or something like that. So carrying each other, but also carrying each other's needs or wants, or it's a kind of version of support. I don't know, maybe I'm coming home after a little bit of like, I'm feeling it a little bit after 8, 10, 12 hours at work. And, I'll come home and she somehow offloads that. She carries a little bit of that for me and with me. And then it's not so bad. I'm not so alone. And I think that goes the other way as well. You know what I mean? A shared weight is a lessened weight.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
And we just somehow know, which we mentioned in the first podcast, how connected we are and how in tune we are to each other. And it just works. It's like we somehow know what it is the other needs at that moment. It's whether it's we can read it off of each other or sense it or just know,
the intonation in the voice, for example, or the eyes, or whatever gestures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even like yesterday morning, we woke up and he gave me a kiss, but yet I still knew, like I didn't necessarily say anything at that moment, but I felt something just wasn't the typical him. And then later we were talking and he said something and I was like, yeah, I kind of sensed it, but I gave him his space to not like be like, what's going on, what's wrong, whatever, I just kind of let it go. And I knew that he would at some point say whatever, let me know that there was an issue. It was not even an issue, just a feeling it's dark and gloomy. And
by some time later in the morning, we're like laughing hilariously, outrageously over some whatever silliness that came into our mind. You know what I mean?
We do that a lot. Seriously. So much.
Yeah, for real.
I've never laughed so much in my life. I mean, I've laughed at stuff, obviously, but I mean,
there's consistent laughter.
Yeah, consistent laughter. Okay.
What else?
Engage in safe connection. Yeah, you want to broaden on that?
Yeah. So a safe connection. Actually, we have another kind of connection. Yeah. The safe harbor, or
we are each other's safe harbors.
That. I have to say is a big deal. You're right. It's big.
Very big.
What that translates to is that regardless, and we talked about this in the last video, but in essence, what happens there or behind us or what's coming Here, it's safe in this space around us, between the two of us, and somehow, and that doesn't even mean physically necessarily. I mean, within the context of us, somehow that is tamped down, and it's less worrisome, less weighty, and somewhere to find comfort in.
Yeah, no matter what's going on, or if it's a feeling from the past or a something or whatever it may be.
Yeah, right.
We know that not only can we share whatever it is that's bothering us with each other, we know that there's acceptance, that it's okay to share and to be vulnerable, like we mentioned, and that it's just okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We know that. Yeah.
We've recognized the importance of shared experiences.
So much.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny how what could be a not so exciting, sort of mundane sort of thing, like, I got to wash the floor. That's not that much fun. But I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? And make a little joke and fun out of it and give me the bucket and give me the mop or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Silliness.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And we're there together in that thing, going to the store together. Yesterday, we spent quite a bit of time going between.
So wasn't planned, but
it wasn't supposed to. It totally wasn't supposed to.
It was like, okay, we're going to be gone an hour and a half,
and back.
And it was like 6 hours
it's
later.
Mid-afternoon, we were back in the house, and we're like, well, now what? You know. But we had that shared experience, and we gave each other ourselves in that time. We were looking for whatever item we were looking for, or it's exploring, riding to the next store. Hey, what do you think? Okay, I hadn't really thought of it. Yeah, but we could do that. So
it's very, we are both very accepting in what it is. Like there was a plan to go to one place first, and then we were going to go to a second place to pick up a few more things, like to the grocery stores. But in between, we pulled up to another store, and I was like, this isn't. At first I was like, I'm like, where are we? And I was like, oh, okay, let's go.
Yeah,
and then we had tons of laughter.
And her openness to the experience, that's what was the key. It was like, oh, I don't wanna. Come on.
Are you kidding me? We're
Seriously?
supposed to be doing whatever.
No, it wasn't that. It was a free flow, easy going.
Okay, let's go.
And we had fun in that place.
Oh, we did.
We did. We actually came and were like, oh, wow, cool. Look at my loot. You know what I mean? It was fun.
It was fun.
So shared experiences, that's important.
Respect time to self. Yeah, that's a good thing.
It is.
Which I tend to have more. Okay, there's been a change in employment type situation with me, but excuse me. So I tend to have more time to myself than he does, because he typically works, a lot.
Like whatever.
Crazy,
like
just
normal.
Crazy hours.
Normal, a little over, you know what I mean?
But it's, if he needed or wanted, or if I needed or wanted time to myself, or, hey, I'm just going to go into the other room, I just want some time to do X, Y, Z. Or, oh, you know what, I think we're going to go out and go to the health club, or go this, or whatever.
Or take a walk, or meet up with a friend.
It's like, okay,
You know what I mean? Hey, I want to have dinner with such and such. I mean, it doesn't happen so often, but the underlying point is that we respect the fact that we don't have to be together with one another.
Although we really seem to always want to be together, but yes, we do. I mean,
yeah, you know what I mean. I don't feel that absolute. I don't feel
tied down.
Yeah, I don't feel tied down. Although I feel connected.
Yeah,
that's different. That's totally different. Well, that is different. You're right. That's interesting. I just realized it myself. See, I learned something. All right.
Respect in general.
Yeah, just generally respecting one another.
Which we do.
Very much. we all are part of something, and we all are connected to something or someone somehow, as little or big as that is. We all are experiencing our ups and downs in our own way. Okay. Fundamentally, it's just so much easier if it's even keeled and pleasant and nice and lighthearted and just simple respect. Okay, the golden rule really does mean something. I mean, I think we've all had some version of the golden rule taught to us. Treat others the way you want to be treated. That kind of makes sense to me. You know what I mean? I don't want somebody to talk badly to or about me, so I'm not gonna do that to somebody else. It just doesn't make sense.
He's so friendly. It doesn't matter what or where. He could be on the phone call, and it's like you could just hear the other person on the line. They're like, today he was on the phone with somebody, and at least 5 times she said, "Thank you so much for your patience," and he's just being nice on the phone, But I mean, he's just so kind. Always, it's amazing.
I said to the lady, I said, I know you're doing your thing, and I understand. You can only go so fast. The computer's doing its thing. It's all right. You know what I mean? Me getting upset. I was like, how much upset do you deal with in the course of a day? It doesn't help you. It doesn't for what? You know what I mean? So finally, when it was done, it was done.
We're doing earthquakes to them.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to shake that. Okay.
I'm trying to shake it up.
Okay.
Learn about each other.
Yeah.
Which
we did a cool thing about that on that front. Yeah. So we were in a car ride, basically a day's worth of car riding to and from a place. It took, it was a 50-question questionnaire, which I wound up finding on the site. I would have to, I think I know what it is, but I don't want to misquote it. So, and anyway, it was a way of getting to know somebody. Okay. And it started very kind of perfunctory, and then it got a little more medium, like heavy, and then like more theoretical and conceptual. And
more romantic. It started out like anybody. Like it doesn't matter who it is.
It wouldn't matter. Like icebreaker kind of stuff.
And then just more, into a maybe casual friendship, into maybe a little bit more of a.
But they weren't all romantic.
No. That's how it led up. It was leading up towards the end. It was a little bit more, or they threw in a couple more, but yeah, we went from number 1 through. By the time I think we sat in the driveway for
some number of minutes. We literally finished the last of the 50 questions.
We're like, we can't just stop now.
It was amazing.
It was.
If you took the time to listen to somebody and just give them the patience and the time to just let the answer come out from them to you and absorb it openly. It's really, it was like a life experience for me. I've never done anything like this before.
And it even made you think about yourself.
It did. It did. I'm like, wow, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Accepting.
We mentioned.
Which we already mentioned. Be patient.
Yeah, patience is important.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a kind of a go-getter. Like, let's go. Come on.
Like ants in the pants.
You know what I mean? Like, if I mentioned the floor. If the floor is dirty, I'm going to wash the floor. I'm not going to think about washing the floor. I'm not going to consider washing. I'm just going to get the mop and wash it. It was like, what are you doing? I said, washing the floor. I said, okay. Like what? Why? Okay. It's like that.
I mean, there are instances where it's, depending on what it is, it's like, but what, maybe I'll put it off. But as a general rule, yes, very much so.
Right. Okay.
And I love it because you just dive in. It's
like
awesome.
You're like more like, well, what did the instructions say? I said,
who cares? I don't know, whatever.
I'll figure it out. I don't know. You know what I mean? That's not always the right approach, by the way.
But you were going somewhere. I'm sorry. With the floor.
But being patient. So I am. Sometimes I want to know what the punchline is. Okay, like somebody's talking to me. It's like, get to the point. Okay, I need to know the answer to the question. There's so many words that are coming coming. I said, wow, okay. So part of me is I have to tone down, back off myself. It's one of my character things. I mean, like, just slow down and listen to the person.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So that's part of being patient. And through that exercise, through actively, like, just take it easy, brother. I've actually learned a lot from her and from other people because I let them come through. Okay, what else?
Drive to understand.
We actively we're driven to understand what the other person is saying or doing, or how come they're acting that way.
Well, yeah, and there have been times where, we'll be doing something, or you're not quite sure what it is I either mean, or maybe not even just me, but in general. And you're actually curious or wanting to know. And then, once I explain, it's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that, trying to understand what it is there may be about whatever the case is. I mean, even when just like with the guitar and stuff, there are sometimes you'll just go into, this is what it is. And I'm like, okay, but
Stop it.
I don't understand. And there she goes again. And then you take a step back and you're like, okay, and then you explain.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm-hmm.
But that there is that we have that with each other, and I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sorry, we like looking at each other.
Speaking of
get lost.
the next point is like one another.
Yeah, love is important, but liking the other person is almost more important than.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not because we love so many people, we love friends, we love, but to actually like the other person, like being with them, like who they are, is really a big deal because, Miley, stop. What are you doing? Sorry.
So
I just don't want her to cause like a boo-boo on her leg. She's been jumping around in the snow a lot. She's actually finally out of her booties, or her little boots, because it's warm. It's warm outside. 36 degrees today, which is actually warm.
Not sub-zero.
So she, she's like hopping around in the snow and actually preferring to walk in the snow than the concrete. And but she sometimes, it irritates her. I think it's the salt more than anything.
Probably
will irritate her, and then she'll lick, and then she can cause a little boo boo on herself. So I'm trying to help her not hurt herself.
I get it.
But anyway, sorry, sidetrack.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like one another,
right? So, loving one another is one thing. Anyone for that matter, your brother, your sister, your mom, whoever, best pal. Mm-hmm. It's different though when you just straight up like them, and I think that's probably not as common as we like to think it is. Oh yeah, I like this. I like this video. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know what I mean? But like, what does that actually mean? Like, we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy doing things together. We enjoy watching a movie together. We enjoy walking together. We like each other's presence. So for us, that's unique. It's unique mm-hmm. because it doesn't so much matter what we're involved in. We just like the experience.
And we like the experience with each other.
Correct.
And it's because we like each other mm-hmm. that I think it makes it easier to like whatever it is we're doing together.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
What else? Being willing to try. Be willing to try.
Mm-hmm. That's big because there are so many things, especially in the beginning of our relationship, which at that time when we would see each other, we're both on vacation. Like this is day-to-day life now we're living. So, it's not necessarily, vacation time all the time where we're going to go, skiing or surfing or whatever the case is. But then we still have plenty of adventures and we have many things planned. But when he would come down to visit, it was like, okay, we're gonna, I booked a surf instructor, and I'm like, what?
Right.
Oh my God.
She's like,
what?
surfing?
I've never surfed in my life. I mean, now I really have to say I appreciate the sport a lot more. And I actually enjoy watching it like on TV or whatever. I know that's crazy, but I do. Or let's go boogie boarding, or let's do this, or let's do that. And I've always liked the idea of all of these things, but I'd never done any of it. And I'd never been in a position to do it for different reasons. And so, but it was his excitement in it and his utter belief in my being able to do it that made me excited about it, but also willing to try it. And then it was amazing. I mean, I had so many amazing experiences, and in just the few first months that we were together, that were like incredible. And it's just, it continues on a different, like I said, in a different way, because, it's day-to-day stuff. But I mean, we still, little things like, oh, the library has a free movie night, and it was a movie I'd never heard of, or I don't know that most people had ever heard of. Well, it was like, okay, let's go. And then while we were there, we saw another flyer that was free Christmas ornament making. And it was like, that was fun. What? And I was like, okay, let's do it. And we had a lot of fun. But like things like that, it's just the willingness to try is really important. And I'm sure you've had your
it's brought us closer. It's brought us closer. But it's also brought us to a point of greater appreciation of not only that thing that we're taking part of, but of each other, because we try to do that thing. Like when we make the Christmas ornaments, you got kind of like,
we were totally focused.
I know. When we finished, we're like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. But it was simply a willingness to just do it. I mean, I had never done a craft with her, or nor she with me in that way. It was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. What else?
Safe harbor, we already hit on.
Two-way open discussion, which I think we're probably showing you right now inadvertently. I mean, we actually are exempling that. The thing that's valuable in this is that we're both the flow of information is this way instead of this way or this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's fluid and reflective of one another.
Yeah.
So so the two-way open discussion thing has been very valuable in our development as a couple.
Absolutely.
I think as individuals, even beyond what, I mean, I go to work and I find myself just somehow more in tune with who's saying what and to me and perhaps why. If I give them enough time, I'm going to get the why part of it, like what it is that actually matters to them. So, and then being present.
Well, acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement. Okay. Acknowledgement is one thing. Being present is another. Acknowledgement. That's more than saying, okay,
Mm.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was not intentional. That was just. Mhm.
But that was an active acknowledgement in this
Yeah.
circumstance.
Yeah.
But you can get, yeah, all right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's not the real deal.
No.
And saying the words, I acknowledge your words, and this matters to you for some reason. I acknowledge that you're feeling upset about this situation.
Or I understand, like.
I don't understand what you're feeling, but I acknowledge the fact that this is bothering you in some way.
And just and being actively present in whatever it is, and yeah, but acknowledging it and just not just saying, okay, no problem.
Yeah, we're not trying to quell each other. We're
Right.
not trying to just like, okay, stop.
It's like, okay, what do you mean? Or
no.
Okay, let's work this out. Or let's, whatever the situation is, just being present, being accepting, being open, listening.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things
Mm-hmm.
are, part of that, and trying to understand, and not necessarily trying to offer a solution, because it's not always what you're looking for.
It's not. It's
but
about
truly
right,
listening.
Right.
And
the value is in being heard. Then value is not in being told.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But
then you kind of almost shut down.
Yeah, you're like,
yeah.
Okay, that's what?
Yeah.
Instead of just we talked about vulnerability. Just tell me something. Okay, that's coming from a place of that I don't understand, that I'm not living. Okay, so just hang tight. That sounds difficult. Or, oh my God, that really happened? It's hilarious. That's an acknowledgement of the fact that she lived through that thing. Funny experience. So those were the sort of, I drew this sort of thing, like our start was the seeds.
Yeah.
And then the next segment we're going to go into is the growing or building, which is like little spriggets. Sprouts. Spriget. I don't know if it's even a word.
We made it up. It is now.
A sprout of it growing and building. That's our relationship that we're referring to. And the last one is maintaining. And I have like these little flowers that I colored in from those seeds and those sprouts. So the start point that we just discussed is what we was the first that was our foundation. That was our foundation, which started in a car ride, which I recorded on my phone. We're like, well, let's just start talking to one another, figuring out what this podcast is going to be and how it's going to work. But
I'm meaning this was the start of our foundation for our relationship.
That is correct.
All of these points and others were part of what got us to where we are and how we built. We started with all of these, and we had a conversation about most of these within the first probably few weeks. Not all of them, but we, the brutal honesty and being accepting of each other's vulnerability, and that these things were important to us, and what we went through points that were important to us that we weren't willing to, negotiate, maybe not negotiate, but that were very important to us and that we didn't want to compromise on.
Mm-hmm.
And, but we went through a lot of this when we started. This is what built our foundation.
Correct. What we didn't know altogether, which we did retrospectively analyze, was what actually we were doing without being so aware of it.
Yeah.
The honesty thing we were aware of. We
Yes.
were purposeful in being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And but we listened to each other intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
We respected each other intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we just mentioned is we have to think about, well, what is it? Why is it we work the way we do? And what is it that matters? Like, why are we being successful at what we're
and how we're what I mean, I think our connection is kind of what made it, all of these things, and our connection is what made us strong and wanting to move forward with our relationship. I had a thought and it kind of flew away.
it'll come back.
Well,
It'll come back when you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
But we just, I think we wanted, because we saw what we had in each other, and we were aware to a degree that it was something that we had in the past
With each other.
Mm-hmm. And we wanted to see where it would go. And then we just kept building and building and building to make it so it was a successful, that it was successful and got us to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
But without that solid foundation and without actively working, honestly, with us, not that there wasn't work to it, but it really, it wasn't.
It wasn't
just
hard.
Flowed. It just
yeah.
kind of, it just was.
Mm-hmm.
It just worked. It just flowed. And what was hard was the distance. But then we went into what our growing,
right,
and what it is that we did to allow us, I don't want to say to not be miserable without each other, because we still, it was hard even though we had these things, but having this and working on not letting it pull us apart really just helped us stay together and
mm-hmm.
grow and just keep going.
Right.
Believing each other each time was harder.
It was harder and harder.
And
so we found,
until the decision was made of what the next step was,
which was going to be
me moving up here,
and being together. That lightened the weight of our separation
significantly,
a lot for both of us. It
was still hard.
Oh, of course it was.
But it was,
now there was something tangible on the on the horizon, or whatever the term is. So when we started, though, you were about 18, and I was 3 years older. I was about 21, or maybe it was 17. I think it was 18.
I was
21.
18.
And so at the time, this is like 90 whatever, 1990 whatever, and
95ish.
Okay.
Roughly.
Okay. So
no, not 95. Yeah, 95ish.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. I'd have to backtrack in my mind. Well, let me think about that. No, actually.
Well, in 97, I would have been 20. So 95 is when I graduated high school, which is about the time.
Okay. So around that time, we reconnected and we started to.
That's when we connected.
You're right.
Officially.
That's correct. That's when we connected. And now we're kids, but grown-up kids. You know what I mean? Now we look like young adults. And so from there, this is now the start of our communication, regular communication, which we listed here were at the time letters and phone calls. Pages and pages of letters, which just grew upon each other. Yeah. Whatever was the date, January something, write out some level of blurb about information about that, and then leave it alone. Then some number of days go back and write some more, and some number of days go back and write some more. And eventually there was like pages of
we
letter.
Had 8, 10, 12 pages.
Right.
Front, back, single space.
That's how we wrote, you know what I mean? And then I'd send it off to her, and at some point later I'd get a letter back from her. In the meantime, we spent a lot of hours on the phone with one another.
Giggling and laughing, and even then we had fun times.
We did. Mm-hmm. We had easy banter. Yeah. We had easy communication. The topic, you can't go back. I can't go back and remember the details of conversations that are 20 plus years old, but I remember the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that the fundamental feeling of having fun with this person and smiling and happiness,
Mm-hmm.
feeling happy and warm and safe, which I didn't understand safe then.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But now, when we've looked back,
Now you
we
look
realize,
back and now we're 40 something, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that we've lived some life, you know what I mean? So now looking back, our conversations then, the gist of our conversations and the gist of our letters are reflected right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading my letters to her, the physical letters, like this earlier in the year, this past year, I was like, I'm saying the same thing today as I was back then.
Yeah.
And similarly, her reading her letters to me.
We're like, what?
What?
This is the same thing we're saying.
Right.
It was incredible.
It was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have the value. We understand the value of what that feeling was back then,
Mm-hmm.
and that we could recognize it now and cherish it and move forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what's
Okay.
next.
So anyway, so now we're going into growing our relationship and what it is that helped us while we were so far apart.
Mm-hmm.
What helped us grow our relationship and make it stronger versus allowing the distance and the lack of physically being together. This is what worked for us to help us get stronger versus allowing that to break us apart or make it more difficult and not moving forward.
Right. Because
if you haven't noticed, he's the wordsmith.
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah, you're pretty good with the words too.
Thank you.
What we'd already lived through that. Although we didn't really talk about the fact that we started to,
Mm-hmm.
but time and distance and youth was in essence the reason that we drifted away from each other.
Initially,
when we were in our 20s, right? Initially, reconnecting now, I think that the connectedness that we had on the phone and via letters was the jumpstart for what we needed to do now. Was the base.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We like talking on the phone with one another. We just did. And we still do.
We do.
We still do.
Multiple times a day.
Yeah, right.
It's awesome.
I'm like, what are you doing?
And I still I see his phone, and my head gets excited. I'm like, oh, hey. I'm like, hello, my love.
What are you doing?
I'm having lunch. What are you eating? I'm having XYZ.
You're like, that's so
Or no,
exciting.
I'm having breakfast. And then, hello, my love. Or, what are you doing? I'm having lunch. What are you eating?
Right.
And we're genuinely enjoying talking to each other and knowing what's going on.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So the phone in more modern
Mm-hmm.
communication, we now have at our disposal.
Which did definitely make the distance, the distance wasn't easy, but it made the connection easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, between text messaging and on Messenger messaging, that was a big thing.
Yeah, initially it was Messenger texts.
Yeah.
Messenger messages only.
Mm-hmm.
Then that moved into texting
Mm-hmm.
only. It wasn't for very long.
No.
It was, but it was. And then
like 3 days.
That's actually true.
our first conversation, because 28th was Messenger.
Right. So,
and then I think a full day
you
of
know-
Messenger. Then it turned into text for about a day and a half. And then we talked for the first time January 1st.
right. You're right. So we went back to the phone call thing that we used to do.
And my mom was like, "Who are you giggling with?" And it's him again. It's like, stop me on
she just got so used to her. She's like, oh, it's him again, because she'd lit up, she'd light up like a candle, you know what I mean? So excited.
She would always say that. She's like, "Oh my goodness, you light up when you call or text or whatever."
Right.
Which I'm assuming you did too in your way, but I couldn't see you then. Well, I mean,
Exactly.
I did later, but
Exactly. Well, I'm sure somebody or other was noticing, like, you sure are smiling bright.
well, you did. You actually said the people at work were like, you're smiling, or you seem
So
happier, or
yeah,
younger,
right.
you look younger, or
Yeah.
we both ended up looking younger out of the deal.
Yeah, for real.
It's awesome.
Like, straight up, I like.
That's
feel and
what
look
the
young.
key is, to look younger. It's find your true love.
That's actually quite beautiful. Okay.
Okay, so Matt, and then we did send video messages to each other, like my phone only allows me 30 seconds of a video that I can send either, well, I don't know about on Messenger, but via text.
Mm-hmm.
So mine were always 30 seconds. His was like a minute or up to, and we would send each other. He used to have you still do the silly thing, but so we would send each other. That was kind of the next step, was sending each other video messages, little quick ones, like multiple times a day. And I don't know how many gigabytes of videos I have.
Many.
Which was,
many.
yeah, I've had
you start to like, okay, what am I going to do without, like, my phone is
like, I can't take any more pictures. I can't do anything with my phone. Okay, let's transfer the video onto the computer.
But here's the thing is that, okay, so I learned value in this. A short personal connection, 30 seconds worth of, hey, I'm here. I miss you. I'm thinking about you. Here's what I'm at right now. I'm about to have lunch, or I'm thinking about this. That is actually a beautiful piece of or a tool to connect two people together. Because, and that doesn't matter who it's directed to. So I found great value in watching her nowness in that video, captured in now, shared with me, and I would watch it whenever I could, or vice or the other way around. You know what I mean? Be that after work or whatever's the circumstance. That moment was now. Right now, we are with you all and with each other now. So there's a value in that. So those short video messages were extremely connective.
Yeah, they were extreme.
I thought they I think that they were a heavy key to our being growing together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then, of course, voicemails we would leave. Oh my gosh, I've lost so many because my phone deleted a bunch, but or I missed resaving them, because it used to be you could save them forever, and now not so much because there's only so much space and whatever. But and it was awesome because at one point, I don't know how it happened, but they were slightly old. I mean, like, not like from the beginning of our relationship, but maybe, I don't know, a couple months in, or maybe a month in, up to when we first saw each other, and then listening to how they got deeper in feeling
the
voicemails. And it was really awesome. And even still, we always leave if we have to. I mean, he calls me more because with his type of work, I know that 99% of the time he's not going to be able to actually answer my call. So, I'll send a text versus actually trying to call, because I also don't want to interrupt in the event you had your phone on. But I'll send a text, or I'll send a video message that I know he'll be able to watch later, or whenever he's available to, but he'll call me more often than not. So the voicemails are typically from you to me, but it's still the same level of feeling and connectiveness as there was in the beginning. It's not it's not just I'll be home at whatever or whatever. It's, hi, how are you? I'm thinking about you. I love you, or, and this is whatever, whatever. There's still that feeling that's in it, which I think is amazing.
I know. I've known enough people over the years who they'll call, but they won't leave a message.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, I appreciate the fact that you called, but I don't know what you wanted. You know what I mean? And I'd like to hear your voice. Like, be that a family member or a friend, or, I know countless times I'll get some spam phone call, you know what I mean? We're here to inquire, are you interested in whatever. They don't mind leaving me a voicemail. I prefer my family or friends do that, you know what I mean? Or, whoever, you know what I mean? I'm not singling out anybody, but the point is that leave a voicemail. That's you connecting to that person. I mentioned the video chat, but leave a voicemail. It's valuable. It means that I'm here with you. You're on my mind. This is what I wanted to share with you. Even if it's a hello, I hope you're okay. Have a good day. That's something,
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of being connected by technology.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also had two other things. Zoom became
it
pretty early on, I think. It started out with just Zoom.
It started out by phone calls and video messages, not quite cutting it.
Yeah. Mm. And we were like, okay, we have to find something else. And so then we found Zoom. And that was it. Even though we still continued with the phone calls and the voicemails and the video messages and the text messaging, Zoom was it. Mm-hmm. We would Zoom whenever we had the opportunity to, so that we could see each other. And then it still was just after your first visit. I think it was after the first visit. It just was hard being apart. One, that was very difficult. But we realized how comfortable we were being together. And one of the things, can I tell them the nighttime ritual that we had on Zoom? Yeah. So one thing that we ended up doing, and we really kind of got very connected to the point where when there may have been a time that, like a night or two, that we weren't able to do it, it was just like,
it was like heavy weight, like let down.
Heavy weight, but we Zoom slept together, meaning it wasn't a sexual thing. It was sleeping together, like going to bed and sleeping for the night together. I would have my computer set up so that it was facing me, and he had his computer set up so it was facing him. And even though we would turn, the lights were off, and like he would turn the brightness off on his computer because, it was bothersome, we still saw like our form, the silhouettes sleeping. And there was just a comfort there, just being able to, like you would if you were in person sleeping in the same bed together, you would turn over and you would see the other person, or you'd get up, grab a bite or go to the restroom or whatever the case is, and you would have that comfort of having the other person there. Even though we were 1,200 miles apart, it was really a big thing for us. Mm-hmm. And we did that, other than I think only a few nights, maybe 2-3.
Quite a bit.
We did that every night. Right. And I mean, there were a couple of times, and it was disconcerting because I would wake up and I didn't see him. And I'm like, what is going on? And for whatever reason, the Zoom chat got disconnected. either he moved and the power cord,
I lost my my power
died,
ran
or
dry.
mine the same thing, or whatever the case is. And it was just like, what's going on? So I would text him, I'm like, we're disconnected. And so he'd like, even though he would typically have his phone off,
Every now and then, I key into it too, because this became our normal interaction, even in rest or at night.
So he'd wake up and send me a text with a new Zoom link.
This was very we had never heard of such a thing, to be honest.
Nobody that we've talked to about it has.
What? Zoom sleep with that like you get a couple different, you get like an eyebrow raise, like what? Or you get like,
are you crazy?
That's a great idea, or that's so romantic. I was like, okay, maybe it's all of those things. It's probably a little bit of all of those things. But what it really was her and I just trying to be together as much as we could be, however we could be. Mm-hmm. That's what it boiled down to. We were like scrambling for something to make that physical distance not quite as acute or palpable. I mean, the apartness was hard enough, but this thing, the Zoom connection, and we used it during the day time as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, of course we did when we had free time, in the evening.
Or he's driving home from work, and at that time he had like an hour drive, so it was connected. Obviously, I mean, there were times that, he would call his kids or whatever the case was. But then the balance of the time we would be connected, or, I'm headed, whatever the case was, we used different times to be able to connect on Zoom. And that made it a little bit easier being able to see each other and talk to each other, because we didn't have the chance to, even living in the same city but living apart, being able to, oh, well, I'm free this weekend, or hey, you want to grab some dinner or whatever. We didn't have that. And I don't know how many times you would call me like from whatever restaurant, and oh, I'm here, and he would set me up, and then we would be eating. I'd have my whatever I was eating, and he'd be eating his thing. And it was so funny because a couple of times you would show me the menu, and I'm like, okay, so I would get cheese fries and this and this, and that's what he would end up ordering.
I'm like, okay, that's kind of a good idea.
But that's that out of everything, Zoom was really what helped us connect the most during the time that we were apart,
and build our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We built it through togetherness via an online format, which we had not experienced before in this way.
Yeah, we actually even Zoom still sometimes.
Yeah,
we have a few times.
Oh,
hey, you want to Zoom? It's like, okay, because the phone call just wasn't enough.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're right. Mm-hmm. Not less so now, because but nonetheless. So the value in it is the value in it is great. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If used actively, like we weren't just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a number of Zoom meetings in the past for work or work-related stuff. You know what I mean? It's helpful. I was like, okay, this is cool. People are just doing what they got to do. You don't have to like race and rush to get into whatever meeting space at times, especially if you're coming from different directions. So it's helpful.
Well, and things changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure.
It was necessary to
absolutely
be able to.
Right. So it took off. Mm-hmm. But for us, it wound up being like we mentioned it.
Yeah.
That was like the single greatest connective force or tool that we had at our disposal to keep us growing.
Yeah.
So now we mentioned the start part of things. We mentioned that kind of the growing, building part of things, the things that we did to grow together.
Oh, and visits was another thing.
Visits. Yeah. That was so important.
That was.
That actually was. So, okay, so we're apart for some number of weeks, usually
Typically about six
or so odd weeks apart. And we're like planning the next get together, the next time
like
together.
that was like a key thing. And several times it was, we're together now. Okay, you're about to leave, or I'm about to leave. Okay, so when will work? Okay, check the calendar, whatever. Okay, what was important was booking that next flight and having that, and then that allowed us, it allowed it to be just a little bit easier, knowing, okay, it's already planned, it's booked,
right,
it's happening,
done.
Yeah.
Not thinking of, I mentioned not thinking about, not ruminating about, like, well, what if we, no,
it's done. We
did it. Okay, so for these number of days, however many days it is,
and I had a
time.
I had a countdown.
The countdown thing. I was like, okay. Sometimes it aggravated me, not like angry aggravated, but I'm like, okay, that just makes it worse. You know what I mean? Like how many days? 33 days. I'm like, sometimes like, oh, it's only okay.
Oh, it's only 25 days.
Right. So the calendar thing was, I know, it was kind of dual-edged for me personally a little. But
it was for me also.
Oh, it was?
It was, because I'd be like 96 days or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And then it was like, okay, 50 something days.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
It made it real. It did. It made it real.
Like, actually, it was like 45 days. I don't know that we ever had 96, but whatever.
No, anyway. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. But maybe the listeners don't, or the
watchers sorry.
Don't. But the principle is that, that was a thing, having it on a calendar, having a time, arrival time, having, and then planning the visit time mattered too.
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to do together when we see each other for those, I don't know, whatever, 3 or 4 days, whatever, how many days it would be, 3-4 days or whatever. We put ourselves forward,
and this kind of goes into maintaining also. Okay, because that we had planned.
Okay. You're actually right. You're exactly right. So the maintenance, how we stay together and growing together, maintaining our relationship together, has to do with planned events or planned outings. Those are sometimes little things like going to the library, as we mentioned. Or they're a little like, oh, there's a show coming on whatever date it is, June, whatever, July something. You want to go, and it's like, oh yeah, let's go. Okay.
Or like we went to something on Halloween. No, we missed Halloween. We went for Christmas, and we were given, if we left a Google review, I think it was, they gave us 2 free tickets to a movie. At a specific movie theater, but 2 free tickets to a movie. So we actually still have that, and we have to do it in the next week, I think. But we've had it for a couple.
That's right. That's a while. That's a good point.
But or maybe it was for Halloween. No, that one was Halloween. We did go to that other one, not the original one, because it's been a couple months that we've had this ticket. But anyway, so it was something like, okay, well, we have this, so let's go ahead and we plan it. But it's little things. I mean, from free things that we found to do to,
or something that requires a ticket and a few pennies to pay for the ticket.
Yeah.
But the plan to be together for a set amount of time for us is important.
It was really important when we were living apart to have, have a plan and to know what it is that we were going to be doing. And our times together were typically very active, like very active. Like we had like 5 days together in Florida, and we actually took one of those days because we had like oops, sorry. Sorry for the earthquake, but we had many things planned, and we actually took one day as a let's stay home day,
Mm-hmm.
and we just kind of spent that day just staying home, connecting, and
Mm-hmm.
watching a couple episodes of whatever
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But it was really important when we were apart. One, knowing we had the time together, and two, what it was that we were going to use to connect to each other through these activities.
Correct. So when I glanced down while you were chatting, and then it dovetails into the next thing. So we mentioned planned events or outings, but the next thing we have is spontaneous adventures.
Yeah.
So the planned things are adventures in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I've never done this before. We're gonna have this experience together. That's awesome. But spontaneously means basically being willing to ride the ride.
Yeah.
We're hungry. Where you want to eat? Not sure. Let's see where it leads us. Instead of saying, I want to go here and this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we're
into what feels right.
What
like
feels
we'll
right.
walk into some place and it's like, are you feeling it? No, not so much. Or we'll walk into a place like, yeah, this is it. This is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an amazing time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had a road trip recently, and it was like that a number of times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, some things we had advice or suggestions on where to go for a meal. You know what I mean? And other times we were walking down the street and we're like, walked into one place. I know it's cool. It's cool. It's just like not right now.
And we'll know from each other's like expressions or whatever. And but the cool thing is if let's say you're really digging it, like I'll give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm happy I did.
Mm-hmm.
Or vice versa. I'll be like, okay, this is cool. And you're like, I don't know. And then, it just, we'll give it a chance if one of us is interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
But more often than not, we both are like, I don't know. Or yeah, this is awesome.
There was a number of live music venues that we were in, which the music was good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the performance was good. The playing was great. You know what I mean? Like somehow the vibe, the feeling was like, it just wasn't where we were at.
Yeah.
The other people were having a fantastic time, and we could have had a good time there too, but not quite as fulfilling.
Like it was like the place or the something just wasn't.
And we moved on to the next place. You're like,
wow,
oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like I'm here now. Yeah. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So openness to new experiences, tastes, clothes, colors, passions. So I think we talked about openness before, but openness in this way is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
That
like there are different things that I now have or where that I may not have looked at before, but that was also kind of a self-image thing as far as the way I may have viewed myself, which I viewed the same thing. Mm-hmm. We both see each other differently now because not only for ourselves, but the way the other sees us or looks at us, or, how it kind of goes hand in hand with both of us. But there are things like, there's a pair of boots that I now have, the flame ones, that I would have seen and thought, wow, those are amazing. But in my life where I was, it was like, where would I ever wear these things? I mean, I can't even imagine. So I would just like,
those are cool, but they're not me.
Not me, but just I didn't have the places I wasn't going to the places that I would have worn them. So why get them? And now it was like, I had seen these boots and I saw these boots and I was like, oh my God, these are amazing. And he saw them and he's like, wow. And it was like, okay, and so I got them, and I mean, I don't know how many times I've gotten compliments on them, but
consistently,
consistently,
like
well,
throughout
both
the
of
night.
us, because we both have
Yeah,
our boots
we
are
have
like
some
amazing.
hotshot boots.
But
Yeah, right.
but now there are the places I go to, the places where they would make sense.
Right.
So, but but it's not only my own openness to, well, it is, but it's also just we both have new experiences now with different things because of how we see ourselves and how we feel when the other sees us. So, but we're open to it.
Yeah, correct. She loves bright colors. And we're together, and I'm not
so
much. You know
colors.
what I mean? Like, I got a lot of black clothes. It's cool,
like,
man.
This is bright.
Yeah, right. There was black in it though. But anyway, I found that I was one time I walked into a store, and there was this very vibrant blue colored shirt, multicolored, like a really awesome pattern. It kind of looked like the ocean flowing through the shirt or something like that.
And like one of those moisture wicking type things.
Right. And I was like, wow, let me try it on, right? So I try it on. Oh
my God, he looks amazing.
I tried it on. I was like, okay, that's cool. You know what I mean? But I think that was partially a reflection. Not only a reflection, but a positive sort of influence. Is like, it's okay to be a little light colored.
And then you got other colorful stuff too.
Right. I have like a cap. It's hilarious. It's got like lemons on it.
And then he's got lines on his trunks.
Sure. So it's like a little out of context. Out of context. You know what I mean? Like, look like a total tourist, but it's fun. It's hilarious.
He looked amazing. Okay, to me, he looked amazing.
Yeah, seriously.
It was
other people like walking quickly the other direction.
Total tourist.
All I need is a camera around my neck, and that's about it. So,
but you were open to
these correct.
Things.
I was open to it, because there's a cool factor in it. But when I see somebody else who values it, and I'm like, that's all right. That's all right. Let's go with that.
But you're willing
to take it on a little bit.
That too, but you also are open to, like, it's like you said, it's okay. It's okay to wear this because I think you are comfortable in the fact that I would be accepting of it versus like, what are you thinking? That would take on a whole different thing. Right. And then it's like,
I get it.
I don't want to wear that if that's the response, But yeah, so smiling.
Yeah, smiling and laughing.
As you can tell, we do that a lot.
Yeah. So, the value of a smile, and not a smile like, but a smile that is so genuine and so rich and so heartfelt, soul-felt, is invigorating. Yeah. And when you really laugh from deep inside, not not like that, but that kind of laugh. Okay, when it's a real laugh, that's so freeing, and the spirit sings. We laugh with one another.
So much.
Yeah, I know. The things that we laugh at, like this silliness, and we have like senses of humor, but we just are lighthearted with one another. And that has dispelled a lot of. It's almost near constant presence, or not being far from a laugh or far from a smile, I think has been very valuable. Because a lot of, when you're working or on the phone or whatever, cleaning up, that's not always like smile ridden, like, ha ha ha, you're not laughing 24/7. It doesn't make
Right.
sense to do that. But with us, it's always there. If we're not laughing, we're about to laugh. We're about to smile. You know, I think that so simple thing is so important.
It absolutely is.
Right? Right. I agree.
Right.
Okay. What else?
Free giving.
Do you remember what that meant? In essence? Free giving. Okay. I came up with that and when I just stumped her at the second time. So in essence, but here's the thing. Okay, give yourself freely.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
Free giving.
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't mean an offer that I'll give you this for free.
Mm-mm.
But
Yeah.
do you remember that time I did that thing for you? Or you know what, but you owe me. It is not that at all.
Mm-mm.
It's like I was whatever I was doing the other day. I was on the computer and she's like, "Do you want me to bring you some tea?"
No, you were
What was
you
that?
were in the room. 'Cause
Oh,
you were,
right.
yeah.
I was doing some computer work, which
Yeah.
which was like time sensitive.
And I was like, and it was early in the morning, and I was like, "Would you like me to make you some oatmeal?"
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And
That's
he's
exactly
like, "Yeah,
right.
that would
Mhm.
be awesome." And there was nothing that I was expecting in return or anything like that.
Right.
And
She offered that freely. It was not for a. It wasn't for a thank you. It was. Of course, I thanked her and I was appreciative of it. But it was the spirit of giving. It was the just here it is.
Mhm.
Part of it, which was so valuable. Or sometimes, whatever, you'll just reach over and rub my shoulders or neck freely. Or I will do something just because. Not for a reason, but just because it feels right. So that free giving thing is valuable.
Mhm.
Like, and you could do the same thing for your neighbor.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Anyway,
somebody
for
needs
anyone.
their stuff shoveled. There's some granny that lives next door. Shovel their snow.
Yeah, you did that the other day.
Okay.
And our neighbors.
Okay. When I was said it, I realized I actually wound up doing it. So, okay, I'm sorry that it wasn't meant to be like a self thing,
right.
a self thing. But frankly, I just did it.
He was doing ours.
You're right, and I was like shoveling, and like, well, that needs to be done. So let me just do it.
Because we walk on it every day. So I mean, now that wasn't the reason, but for everybody, and we know that she's older, and
so
as it turns out, she looked out the window, and
and she so sweetly mouthed thank you to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if she noticed me. I don't know if she appreciated it or whatever. And I was hoping it's going to be okay, because some people can get like, what are you doing on my property or whatever?
Right.
I'm like, I was just trying to clean up her space. You know what I mean? Because I'm concerned that somebody is going to get busted up on the icy, snowy cement sidewalk. Okay, so that's a principle of free giving.
Yeah.
And how it works for us. Other maintaining things. So these kind of go to hand in hand. So recently she's found a great fulfillment and passion for
Legos.
She told me before that she likes to put stuff together.
I do. I mean, for furniture or whatever the case may be, I like putting stuff together. I always have. My mom would say the same thing. It's just my thing. And something specifically struck me with Legos, because it could be my friend may have mentioned it, that she had Legos. I was like, oh, you know what?
We were having breakfast together. We were having breakfast together.
And she mentioned how she does Legos. Like, she has oh my God, we ended up seeing it. Wow. Yeah. I want everything she has. But, And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so at that point, we knew that I was coming up here already. And so he's like, oh, that would be awesome. When you're up here, you can maybe hang out with your friend and play Legos, which we did have a Lego day. But I was actually the motorcycle was a surprise for me when I came up here.
Mhm.
He had it for me,
Mhm.
but he was under the impression it was going to come disassembled, and it came put together. So I actually was able to disassemble it to reassemble it, which was amazing. The only thing is I don't know if any of you know Legos, but when you get a Lego set, there are multiple bags in the number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have the booklet, and it says, okay, in bag 1 you have these pieces, and then it kind of goes through how to assemble it. Well, with the motorcycle, I had the booklet, but all the pieces weren't separated into bags. So disassembling it was great, but now there was like just a ton of Legos, and then trying to figure out which pieces. Yeah. So when we went to our friend's house, who he happens to know all of his life as well, she helped me like kind of separate it, whatever. And so we had a fun time, doing that and then starting to put it together. But oh my gosh, the collection she has of Legos are incredible.
It's really something.
But so far, I've put together this car. That was my first piece that I put together. And then I put this guitar and amp. Yes, that's Legos. And then the motorcycle. And I have a roses set now to do.
Right.
But where were we going with that?
Maintaining our relationship together. Okay. This is something she enjoys doing. I will foster and support that. Okay. It's part of us being part of each other's interests and passions. Okay. We are maintaining togetherness by still giving, we're sharing this thing together. I get to enjoy it and watch her do it. She's like, oh, you can help us. I said, no, I want you to do it because this is what you love doing. Okay. You love putting those things. You love going from step 1 to 2. And now all of a sudden it's page 51 and all of a sudden it's page 77. I'm like, wow. And I'm watching this thing. I come out of the room. I was like, wow, that's amazing. It is. It's like, seeing the growth of something it's really very fulfilling. And then, here's the fruit of her labors. Here's what she did. So similarly, not exactly the same, but one of my passions is playing guitar, studying guitar, playing guitar, practicing guitar. I love the activity. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. Sometimes I'm doing something very, practicing scales, very mechanical. There's a reason you do them. You up and down the neck. You have to, learn different patterns and such. That's awesome. And sometimes just something takes over and I go into a whole different space.
Oh my gosh, the things has come out of him. It's incredible.
Right. And I don't know where it comes from. I don't know how I did it. I don't know that I can do it again. Something just comes through me and out of me and comes onto the strings and the frets, and be it if I'm playing acoustically or electronically, if I'm amped playing it or into my earphones. It's my spirit, it's my creativity, it's my joy. It's so much and the sound. I love the sound of the strings and what they can do.
Oh yeah.
And how all the parts come together. That for me is enriching. I've grown many leaps and bounds through the practice and the appreciation of guitars and music, not only, but this is my current thing. I grew up playing accordion when I was a little kid. You know what I mean?
I can't wait to get drums.
Yeah, this is her new thing. Actually, you know what? It's really awesome. I do appreciate that. Yeah, she really wants to drum. And I had her behind a drum kit at one place we visited. And all of a sudden I was like, she's like going at it. I'm like,
you have rhythm.
Wow, you have rhythm. She was really hitting it on beat. I'm like, that's amazing. I just didn't expect that was going to be the case. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. No, I didn't go there with any expectation. I just wanted to sit down. So I sat down and did my thing.
Because I'm watching all these drummers when we're at these concerts and stuff, and I'm like, whoa. And I really, yes, I appreciate the bassist and the guitarist and the singer and and whatever. But the drummers, I mean, really are leading the band, and just watching them, because they are very literally using all of their limbs when they're playing drums, and just some are more complex, and some are a little less, but just watching them is
but to be able to do it is hard.
Oh my gosh, it is. When I actually sat down behind the drum kit, I was like, whoa. Like I get it. And so doing it up here was one thing, but then to also get your feet into it, it's like, oh my God. Wow. A whole nother respect for drummers again, but just like surfers.
Yeah, like surfers.
But anyway, but fostering
And
your passion in guitars is kind of where we were going with that.
Right.
Sidetracked.
That's true. But that's part of us maintaining our relationship with one another. She listens to me playing. Whatever it is I'm playing. And for whatever reason I'm playing.
And for whatever length of time you're playing.
Correct. Sometimes I'm like,
it's like only 10 minutes and he's like, oh, he's done. I'm like, what? But he just,
because that's where it's like naturally stopped for me. Other times I sit down, it's like, I got to practice this part, and it's an hour and a half later. And I'm like, okay, I'm good now. I am good. But she supports that.
Absolutely.
And our relationship is maintained on mutual respect of one another and what we need to fulfill ourselves. And being with one another. When you're building the Lego sets, I was there with you in some manner.
Yeah.
When I practice, not always, but most of the time, you're there with me in some manner. It used to be virtually via Zoom.
Yeah. Yep.
Or I'd send you a track that I'd recorded, or in this case now in person. You know what I mean? So this is important to us. This is what's important to us. And whether or not it is to other people, I don't know. But this is what's important to us.
And it helps us maintain our relationship.
Correct.
And continue to build it. Because that's always going to be the case.
Correct. Which actually kind of brings up a point. So what, this starting, growing, building, maintaining relationship, it's not like here and here and here. It's just that on paper, I have it kind of outlined in its sub-segments, but they're all intertwined.
Well, building and starting is one thing, and getting your foundation and is one thing, but building and maintaining is going to be for the length of,
It will be, but it's still bound to the initial principles. The initial principles are maintained, so they are part of the growing and part of the maintaining thing. So that's what I mean. They're not separate entities, right? Okay, what else?
And then the last thing was the plan and do projects, which of course we'll go. I mean, the idea behind the podcast is to go into more depth on different things that are of importance, and then at some point even growing into anything really, but all based on the relationship and how we maintain and build it. But this is just kind of an outlay of how and where we started and how we were able to get to where we are now and obviously continue it. But the last thing was plan and do projects, which of course are examples.
And we have a few, we just wrote down some random things, but this podcast was a planned project. It started with a fundamental idea. Hey, what do you we would do really great as a podcast, and we saw it, somebody else mentioned it too. You'd be great in that format. And I'm like, I don't know, that sounds kind of cool. What does that mean? You know what I mean? But I don't know how to do that. So it was literally reading, asking questions, talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of experience, not with podcasts, but at least with YouTube world, and more social. Well, no, you're on the the typical side of social media where you are following people and whatever, but actually running your own thing on social media and getting it out to the world is the other side of it, which, you know, I'm more familiar with YouTube in particular, but we're learning with other stuff as well.
Right. We're learning this
Mhm.
in lifetime.
Yeah.
As much, you know, we do our best to get ready for whatever's next and to
Mhm.
think about what we're going to do. I mean, we planned today's discussion on paper, and now we're just going with it.
Mhm.
We planned to do the podcast so that we could share some of our experience and some of our selves,
Mhm.
some of ourselves, so that maybe it'll help somebody else. Maybe, and hopefully it does. So we called this episode called the Green Thumbs of Love, which which was a funny concept I came up with earlier. I don't know if it was in our first episode, or if I think I thought of it when we were talking about the things that we're doing normally. So the Green Thumbs of Love is, I don't know, it's like a funny kind of thing. We both like to grow stuff, like different types of plants, and
Which reminds me, we have to do that too.
and yeah, we have to replant some plants. But you know, part of having a green thumb is that it's inherently that, yes, I can grow this thing and I know exactly how to do it and such. That's cool. But more often than not, you have to learn something in order to be able to do it.
Mhm.
Somebody has to teach you about soil, or somebody has to teach you about how to handle the plant, or somebody
Well,
has
I used to have a black thumb and now I have a green thumb. So it's from learning and experience and trial and error and a lot of that.
Right. So that, you know, the seeds we started with have grown into what is the word? Sprouts.
Yeah.
And the sprouts have grown into flowers.
Mm-hmm.
But it has not been without learning and doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we hope that, you know, the idea of a green thumb of love is not necessarily unattainable for other people, or the green thumb of like, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't even just thought of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Okay, if you want to like somebody, okay, it's like counterintuitive into what either you like them or you don't like them. Well, not necessarily. You can oftentimes find something in common with somebody on some topic. Like, what do you like about them, about what they're doing, about what their interests are, about what they've made? Okay, there's something that can be fostered to grow into something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
We're growing bigger and bigger.
Okay.
We're going to be oak trees. We're going to turn from flowers to oak trees.
What's that giant thing, the giant sequoia?
Yeah.
That's a big tree.
That is a big
I
tree.
only saw them on television or in pictures.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
Okay. Well,
Let's go see it.
Maybe we should do that.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Sounds good to
When
me.
do we start?
I
think we
don't
just
know.
started.
Yeah.
The idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's an interesting point. Okay. How do you do something? You start with an idea,
Mm-hmm.
but then do something about your idea.
Yeah.
Where are these giant sequoias? I think they're in California somewhere. That's about what I can tell you. Okay. So, like, what's next? I don't know. We'll keep you updated, I guess. That's our new adventure. We're planning a new adventure.
There you go.
There you go. So, anyway, so we're glad. we're glad you're here.
So much how it goes with us.
Seriously, I was running a podcast. Well, here's a giant sequoia. The park ranger will be our pal. You know what I mean? These thumbs up pictures together. What really gonna be? It's gonna really be like that. Like, oh, say hi to your mom. Oh, whatever. Okay. So I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe we'll do a live in the middle and say, well, actually show them, not just pictures.
No, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, maybe we could do that. As long as we can get an internet connection.
These days, you
might
probably
need a satellite or something. I don't know.
hotspot.
Yeah, personal hotspot. Maybe it could work. So what's next? So I think we're kind of done for today.
Yeah, which I didn't even pay attention, but it's been an hour and 40 minutes.
Well,
Yeah.
We hope that you've gained something from our banter and from our from just who we are together. You know what I mean? We love the experience of trying new things and doing new things.
Yes, we do. So much.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's because it's easy with the other person.
Yeah.
In this case.
In our circumstance.
We're very open to each other and to new experiences, and we have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we've had fun with every experience we've had.
Mm-hmm.
It's been easy.
Yeah. It's unique. Mm-hmm. It is definitely unique.
I mean, you have you ever driven a scooter? I'm like, no, the red car, scooter car. I was like, no, and he's like, okay, let's go ahead. And I was like, what? Next thing, we're driving a golf cart around everywhere. But the scooter was amazing.
The scooter car was super cool.
It was super cool. And then the other scooter.
A scooter, like a moped scooter.
Like a moped scooter that I almost killed myself.
Initially,
I got on and I almost went into the column, but I got it right before I did that. Sorry, Mom, I know you're watching. I didn't tell you that part.
Yeah.
But then I got it. But I mean, that's just how
we go.
How we go.
All right. So until next time, we will get this will post as a watchable thing.
Yeah.
Afterward.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you have any comments or questions, just leave it. As soon as we end it, it'll post as a video, and then you can comment underneath it. If we had the chat open, that sometimes takes a while to actually post where you can read the chat. But we kept it. We wanted to do it live, but we kept it without comments because it wasn't necessarily going to be an interactive thing where we were going to actively be reading the chat and commenting and responding. Maybe we'll do one at some point.
That could work, but for purposes of today's topic presentation, it wasn't the right thing. It was more important that the interplay be between us and that we just have an open discussion and
we were able to focus on what it is that we were trying to do and stay on topic.
Right. So, I mean, this was just today's format. It could be anything we choose or anything that's suggested. Mm-hmm. You know, I think
this will be as a podcast on a podcast platform. We're just trying to choose the best one for us, which of course we'll start with the first one because we have that recorded, and then we'll do this one, and then hopefully our next one they'll be to get simultaneously done.
We actually had that planned on and having that already arranged for and taken care of.
We did, but we've had some stuff.
Well, we've had some stuff, but the other thing is we have to do our homework on it.
Yeah.
Because it's new to us. So okay, let's, we
want to go the right way and get everything that we have some resources that we've looked at, but we want to make sure that whatever platform we get has everything that we are looking to have, and that'll help us move forward and to support us in the way we need. So we will get that done, and it'll be an actual podcast because this technically isn't really a podcast, but we're calling it a podcast.
All right. So until next time, we'll put out the notices for the next, be it video or it'll be a podcast. Hopefully it'll be it'll be on both. It'll be in audio format, and it'll be on
streaming, hopefully live together.
Correct. That's the goal is to stream that it's like right now going out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's a different way where you record it and send it out. But we'll decide that. We'll move forward. Okay. So for now.
Okay. Have a great day. Thank you so much for having been here. And again, we would love it if you'd consider liking, commenting, and sharing. It helps us also see what it is that you guys have to say, but it also helps the analytics, and that's always important.
Yep.
So we really appreciate it. So have a great day. We'll see you
Bye.
guys soon. Bye.